not one thought of money or fame or anything like that in my mind. I just wanted to fight. Fighting is what I do. My father was a fighter. My grandfather was a fighter. It's just in my blood. My dream is to be the best fighter at 155 pounds in the world.
A lot of times you have guys that work really, really hard and make all the sacrifices, and then you have guys that are really great talents. Guys that do both become, some of the greatest fighters the world has ever seen. It's exciting seeing a kid like Dustin who may be one of those.
Man, I've been the underdog in so many fights and got my hand raised. I've been the underdog my whole life. I'm comfortable in this position.
I definitely think fighting has opened the path to redemption for me.
There it is! Dustin Poirier! Welcome back to 155, man!
Nothing was given in this sport. And I've been fighting 10 years, and I've earned every step of the way. And like you said, I built this with this, punch by punch, step by step, and I'm very proud of it.
I don't care how much pain I go through, how much I bleed, how many the crowd say I can't do it. I don't care, I got self-belief, and I get it done, baby. I'm coming for that stress, that's my value.
What happened? That's the end of the fight. Got this body lock. Yes, something happened to his ribs.
What was going on when that happened?
I think it was a broken man more than a broken rib.
He cheated. And got out of his knees and should have forced him right back.
I'm the guy who got robbed.
And then when I came back, I felt his spirit break.
And then he comes back to say, I'll never quit here. This is who I am. I'm a fighter at heart. I'll never quit.
You can run like a bitch all the time, or you can stand there.
Jason nearly out on his feet. Poirier continues to let
January 23rd, him and Dustin Poirier, any update on that? Could that be the fight we see?
He said yes. Dustin said yes. So
Conor versus Poirier is all but official.
Why are you fighting a guy that you already knocked out in the 2014? Why are you fighting that guy again now?
I never got a good stint at 155 pounds. The world seems to think this is my best weight. I feel in amazing shape, so I look forward to putting in a run similar to what I've done in the featherweight division, inside the 155-pound division.
Trying to get close to the takedown. Massive by Poirier going to the takedown.
Solid calf kick there from Poirier. Nice
check
hook there from Poirier. And he points at him. I like these kicks.
Fire. That's very important for the game of Dustin Poirier. A lot of kicks. Oh, that leg beat up, man. Dustin Poirier.
Poirier now right here. He's got to go back to the ground. Big left in the Oh, my God.
He's about to go. Floyd Mayweather. After McGregor on the run, a shot, another hook, and it's over. Conor versus it's over. Waves it off. McGregor was hurt.
it's the most disgusting thing that has ever happened in the history of the company. And there was a warrant out for Conor McGregor's arrest.
He was arrested in New York after an altercation in a UFC fighter's box.
Mixed martial arts fighter Conor McGregor arrested.
This is not the first time McGregor has been in handcuffs.
Send me location.
Serious trouble. To be trying to smash his face
Conor McGregor time.
Yeah, the guy just fought 4 rounds, got the fuck beaten out of him, got choked.
Conor got beaten by 10-8 rounds. The fight could have been stopped. It was vicious.
Done everything is done. October 6th, I finished him. And I finished everything about him. This is going to be the next fight, but I don't think it's going to be Conor.
What else is in that division? I don't think it's going to be. That's it. I think that's it. I think time is probably taking its toll.
In the end, what it says to me is this: Conor McGregor match. It's a devastating blow to the UFC. I don't care what anybody says. This is popular, and to lose the way that he's been losing, no more title shots for the foreseeable future. You don't deserve it. You got to fight contenders, fine, but not title shots. You don't deserve that. You don't need to be talking about Mega.
It's hard to get up at 5 in the morning and go running when you're sleeping in silk pajamas.
Wow.
Did you know that live?
What an intro to a massive, massive fight. I'm Ryan Thomas. Thanks so much for tuning in to this latest episode of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Thank you so much for watching that little preview to what I like to call the preview and prediction for all things UFC 264. And let's get started. UFC 264 kicks off this Saturday night. The return of the notorious one, Conor McGregor, taking on his arch rival, Dustin Poirier. McGregor's had quite a few arch rivals over the course of his career. That's what happens when you become the biggest name in the sport. And despite the losses, whether it's the loss to Nate Diaz that we saw in that preview, whether it's the loss to Khabib Nurmagomedov, or whether it's the loss to Dustin Poirier that Conor McGregor suffered back in January of this year, not so long ago, 6 months ago, Conor McGregor was on the losing end, a vicious knockout loss to Dustin Poirier, the first time he'd ever been knocked out. Both times he lost in big fights to Nate Diaz and to Khabib Nurmagomedov. Those fights were on the ground. This fight was on the feet. McGregor got carved up like a Thanksgiving turkey, and that was easily the worst loss of his career. I will start off the show by saying that, yes, that is the worst loss of his career. The last fight against Dustin, the worst loss, because he lost on the feet. He didn't lose on the ground like he did against Khabib, like he did against Nate. So, yeah, that's just my honest, humble opinion that last loss, start off by saying that last loss was the worst loss of Conor's career. Folks, you can find this UFC 264 Poirier versus McGregor 3 preview and prediction episode on any and all podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. Go find it. You will see it. Available on my YouTube channel as well. Available on my Facebook as well. The Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Available everywhere. Sponsored by none other than Labatt Blue Brewing Company. Shout out to the #1 brewing company in Buffalo, New York, Labatt Blue. Very excited to have them on board as a sponsor. And I'm excited to have a few announcements in regards to the show. I have a special guest tonight, Jake Klingshern, joining me on the show tonight to talk some Boston Red Sox baseball. But first, as a preview, pre-show to that, I have to hop on here and give my preview and prediction, my keys to victory as well, to Poirier McGregor 3, the biggest fight of the year so far. No doubt about it. The biggest fight of the year. It's safe to say. And I wanted to show a little bit of how we got here. That video was brought to you by a really great YouTube channel. They're called The Fight Business. And it's a YouTube channel that I've followed for quite some time. And I asked permission if I could use that video as the startup video to this podcast. And you guys can kind of hear that on the audio side of things as well. I like doing that. It puts me in that pumped up state of mind that I need to be in to provide you guys with the content that you deserve. Mixed martial arts fans deserve the best because mixed martial arts is the best. MMA over boxing. I'm a boxing fan, but mixed martial arts has taken over. So this is the Poirier McGregor 3 preview and prediction show. The first question that I want to ask the audience and answer for the audience is, how did we get here? How did we get to a point where Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor are fighting for a third time, back to back? You know, they fought for the second time in January of this year, as I said earlier. And, you know, obviously they're 1-1, one apiece. So when we saw that, you know, we do the math. Yeah, Conor beat him back in 2015, 2014. Dustin beats him in 2021. We knew that they're 1-1. We knew that third one was coming. We knew it was only a matter of when, not if. And that when, to me, was sooner than I thought. I thought that Dustin Poirier would get a title shot coming off of that victory over Conor. But due to the financial draw that Conor is, it allows whoever fights Conor to make more money than they would make fighting for a title. Dustin Poirier will make more money fighting Conor than he would anyone else, whether it be for a belt or not. Any human on earth, Conor makes his opponent more money than they've ever made. He's still that drawing power fighter. He's still that quote-unquote cash cow for the UFC, despite those losses. And I don't blame Dustin Poirier one bit. He got a lot of flack for taking this fight. I don't understand why. The guy's got a wife. He's got a daughter. You know, he's trying to make as much money in his career as possible, and Conor McGregor allows him to do that. Plus, just from a competitive standpoint, it's great to have one win over Conor McGregor. What's better than having one win over Conor McGregor? 2 wins over Conor McGregor. So, you know, how did we get here? Yeah, we got here because they're 1-1. And a lot of fight fans are still kind of mystified by the fact that Dustin Poirier didn't get that title shot that was ultimately given to Michael Chandler. Charles Oliveira was already in line for the title. Michael Chandler was really the one that was given more of the shot at the title, being that he hadn't, you know, fought more than one fight in the UFC. He gets one fight under his belt against Dan Hooker. And, you know, Poirier says, I'll take the McGregor trilogy fight over the title fight, which paved the way for Chandler to take on Oliveira, you know, about a month or so ago. And we know how that fight turned out. Charles Oliveira, the new UFC lightweight champion. And Charles Oliveira now waiting in the wings to take on the winner of Poirier and McGregor 3. Dana White, UFC president Dana White, already announced that very subject, that Oliveira will fight the winner of McGregor and Poirier. So that leaves the fans with something to be excited about, right? That leaves the fans with something to feel like, hey, this fight matters 2, 3, 4, 5-fold. It matters for McGregor's legacy, number 1. It matters for Dustin Poirier's legacy, number 2. It matters for the UFC, business-wise, number 3. It matters for the lightweight division. And it matters to Charles Oliveira. 5-fold this fight matters. And that's rare. When you have one fight that's the fight that can dictate what happens throughout the rest of the year and beyond. This fight is massive. This is a big, big fight. Pay-per-view is trending up. I think this is going to be one of the highest purchased pay-per-views in UFC history. Could break plenty of pay-per-view buy records, gate records in Las Vegas for sure, given the fact that this fight will take place in Las Vegas, Nevada, T-Mobile Arena. First time that the UFC is back in Vegas in over a year. You kidding me? Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier is the fight that brings back the UFC to Vegas with live, you know, a live attendance, a gate, an actual true gate. Wow, this fight's going to make a ton of money. So outside of that preview, a little short preview, obviously I'm very excited for this fight. That the trilogies in MMA, trilogies in boxing, basically what I'm trying to say is trilogies in combat sports as a whole are known to be spectacular. We've seen it in boxing. We've seen it in mixed martial arts. And it's a rare occasion where a trilogy in combat sports does not stack up, does not fit the bill in terms of the hype. I think this will fit the, you know, fit the billing, and I think this will be a fight that will accomplish meeting expectations. Because the first fight with McGregor and Poirier was a second-round knockout by Conor. First round knockout by Conor. Second fight, second-round knockout by Poirier. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? Really, I had a very tough time placing any sort of bet on this fight. I did, by the way, parlay bet. I won't tell you who I bet on because it'll spoil who I think is going to win this fight. We'll get to that towards the end. I got to go through the keys to victory first for both Poirier and McGregor before I do that. So let's start off with the man that won the second fight, Dustin Poirier. What are Dustin Poirier's keys to victory for UFC 264? This is the biggest fight of Dustin's career, no doubt about it. And he's fought some big fights. Eddie Alvarez, Anthony Pettis, Michael Johnson, Justin Gaethje, Dan Hooker. He's fought the who's who of the UFC lightweight division over the course of the last, 3, 4, 5 years. And I think that activity was what greatly helped Poirier in the second fight with Conor. But despite the fact that Poirier was able to beat Conor in that second fight, Conor is a different animal. Each fight, these guys could fight 10 times. Poirier could win 5 times. McGregor could win 5 times. So what happened in the past doesn't necessarily matter. This is a clean slate for both guys. But the keys to victory are a hybrid of what Poirier did in the second fight and what he didn't do in the first fight. So key to victory number 3. We're going to go 3, 2, and 1. 1 being the most important, of course. The third greatest key to victory is to establish the takedown. Poirier did that very successfully in the second fight, in the first round. He was able to establish the clinch, initiate a takedown, and work towards maintaining a positive position in the clinch where he's in control. There was a lot of clinch fighting, hand fighting, head fighting inside the clinch. McGregor reversed position a few times. Poirier was able to get that takedown, though, and that signaled to me that if Poirier can take Conor down early in the first round, he could take him down at any point. Because when you're there in the first round, it's early. You're kind of in your freshest state of mind, your most ready state of mind. Fight's just starting. He fires that takedown. McGregor couldn't sprawl in time to avoid it. And I think Dustin Poirier is a far more underrated wrestler than one he's given credit for. If Poirier establishes that takedown early and often, he could cruise to a solid victory, whether that's a unanimous decision victory or just racking up points on the judges' scorecards. Because yes, this is a 5-round fight. 5-minute rounds, 25 minutes. Number 2, key to victory for Dustin Poirier, stick and move. Land your punches, land your kicks, and then get the hell out of there. It falls in line with my number 1 key to victory for Dustin Poirier. Create distance with Conor McGregor. That's what Poirier did so well in that second fight. When these wrestling exchanges and transitions didn't take place in the fight between McGregor and Poirier the second time around, Poirier did a fantastic job of moving inside and outside and landing leg kicks and just getting out of the way of McGregor's punches. If he can do that again, he could very well get another finish, possibly a knockout in the third bout, the trilogy bout between both gentlemen. So those are my 3 keys to victory for Poirier. Number 3, establish the takedown. Number 2, stick and move. And 2 kind of falls into 1, create distance. By sticking and moving, landing the punches and kicks that he needs to land early and often in the fight. We know Poirier's punches and kicks can accumulate damage over the course of a 15-minute fight, let alone the course of a 25-minute fight. Those first 3 rounds for Poirier are going to be the toughest. If this fight goes into the 4th and 5th round, I lean towards Poirier getting it done. By getting it done, I mean finishing Conor McGregor. So those are the keys to victory for Poirier. Next up, the keys to victory for the notorious Conor McGregor, former UFC featherweight champ, former UFC lightweight champ. Number 3, key to victory, pace yourself. We saw it in the preview to this show that McGregor can run into trouble. And when he runs into trouble, it's almost as if things just unravel. Before you know it, the fight's over, and you don't really know where it started to be over. As soon as it starts to be over, it's over. It's like this just complete unraveling. We've seen it in the Nate Diaz fight. Can we count the Floyd Mayweather fight? I guess we'll throw that out there. I don't really count that because he's fighting one of the greatest boxers to ever do it. He's not a pro boxer. That was in the 10th round. Another story for another day, but we'll throw that in there, I guess, too. When Conor doesn't pace himself and he throws these super hard shots early in these fights, you see his gas tank empty. You see his cardio hit a wall, and you see him gas out beyond that 15-minute mark, which is beyond the third round. He skated by Nate Diaz in that rematch. He won that fight. Fair play to him. He didn't finish it. It was a 5-round split decision or majority decision for Conor. And I'm fearful, as I alluded to with Dustin. If Dustin can get this into the 4th and 5th round, I think that's very troublesome for Conor. I know Conor is training super hard, and he's trying to avoid any problems with his gas tank, pardon me. But it's just seems to be the case. I don't know if it's the muscle mass that Conor has that he's carrying around. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the fact that he throws the punches so hard in the early rounds. I think that's a part of it. But pacing yourself, if you're Conor, please pace yourself. I want to see this turn into a real fight. I don't want to see Conor lose this one just on account of him not pacing himself. If I'm Conor McGregor, my second key to victory for Conor is to stay close to Poirier. Part of the problem in what Poirier was able to establish is the fact that he was able to create distance to land those leg kicks, to land those calf kicks early and often. Those accumulated in the course of 2 rounds. Conor didn't check them because Conor was looking to knock out Poirier with his fists. I think if McGregor stays close, it would nullify the distance that Poirier is able to create to get those leverage on those kicks. It would take that weapon away from Poirier if McGregor is able to stay close to him, land his shots, smother him, try to wear him down, and maintain top position if he does get him to the mat, or maintain top position if he gets him against the cage. I think when I envision this fight and how it starts, I think Conor McGregor needs to be on Dustin Poirier like a fly on a turd. He needs to be on him from the moment that fight starts, pushing the pace, moving forward. On one hand, I say pace yourself. I'm talking pace yourself as the third key to victory by not throwing hard shots. He can still pace himself by pushing the pace and controlling the action. But in the form and fashion that Conor has done it in the past, it appears as if he's throwing punches that are way too hard, way too soon, way too early. Where if he just stays close to Poirier, it nullifies the leg kick, and it allows McGregor to land punches, hard punches from close range, rather than throwing the hardest punches possible in the first and second round within a maximum distance. That's no good. And going from there. So that's how I see it. For the key to victory number 2, stay close. Number 1, start fast. That kind of goes to what I just said. Start fast. Be on him like a fly on a turd. That's what I'm seeing from Conor. I think Conor wanted to start fast in the second fight. He did put Poirier's back against the cage. That's where he was successful early in the first. I thought Conor won that first round. Am I crazy? I thought Conor actually won that first round. The second round, he did accrue some damage on those legs, but I thought he won the round. And then that second round, that damage was just too much to handle. And we know what happened. But now we get down to brass tacks here. Who do I see winning the fight between Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor this weekend? Look, trilogies are beautiful in combat sports. Oftentimes, the 3 fights happen over a long period of time. This case, that is not the case. The second fight happened in January. This fight's happening in July. The form and fashion and how Dustin Poirier won, I find it hard to believe that Conor McGregor is going to be able to adjust that quickly based on the game plan that Poirier was able to implement with relative ease and expose a massive hole in McGregor's game. I know McGregor's training really hard. I know he's definitely made the adjustments, and he's a film, junkie with his coach, John Kavanaugh. They're watching the tape, finding out what they did wrong. But the experience that Poirier has been able to accumulate over the course of the last 4 years, in comparison to the experience that Conor is able to accumulate over the last 4 years, this octagon time, including a fight with Max Holloway for the interim lightweight championship that he won, and Poirier that he won, and these wars with Eddie Alvarez, wars with Justin Gaethje, wars with Dan Hooker. And I say that, and sometimes people take that as a negative. In this case, given who Poirier is fighting, I take that as a positive, being that he has the experience, the minutes, the octagon time, the mat time that Conor McGregor just simply does not have. So I think Poirier is going to get this done. I'm predicting that Poirier will win this fight. Will Conor show more than he did in the second fight? I think so. I think it's going to take a lot more than just a series of leg kicks to stop McGregor this time around. But I do see Poirier winning this fight, TKO in the fourth round. And all that stuff I said about, Conor and the fact that he doesn't have the experience that Poirier does over the last few years, that's one thing. That's one thing entirely. My fear is Conor's inability to not hit a wall within, 15 minutes and beyond, I should say. So I think we will see another performance from Conor that is pretty decent throughout the first 3 rounds. But if it goes past that, I think Poirier is going to end this pretty quickly in the fourth round, early in the fourth round. So there you have it. That's my take on Poirier and McGregor. I got Dustin Poirier getting it done. Got some really good fights on this card as well for UFC 264. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Gilbert Burns. I'm rooting for Wonderboy. You guys know it. The bet is in. Parlay Wonderboy as well as Poirier. If those two guys win, I win some money this weekend. So I'm rooting for those guys for those reasons as well. But I also think that they're both going to win those fights. That's why I bet on it. Gilbert Burns is a tough customer. He's well-rounded, really good striker, solid jiu-jitsu player. But I'm very excited to see how these styles of a jiu-jitsu player versus a karate guy kind of pan out. It's a classic matchup in mixed martial arts, and it's nice to see it at that high of a level. And if Wonderboy beats Gilbert Burns, can this guy get a goddamn title shot already? I would hope that happens for his sake and just for the division's sake. I think that makes a ton of sense. I happen to believe that Sugar Sean O'Malley could potentially steal the show. He's not fighting, the toughest customer on earth, but he's just that type of magnetic personality, similar to a Conor McGregor, that people just gravitate to. I'm really pumped up for UFC 264. For the first time in a long time, I have a Saturday off. I'll be able to enjoy it, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. Thanks for tuning in to this UFC 264 preview and prediction show. I'm Ryan Thomas. Take care.